I think it's hard for dudes, right? Especially like to feel through those emotions and to admit you even have those emotions, because I for sure was a little bit in denial too, about how I felt. I was like, oh no, everything's fine out on the outside, right? To everybody else. I didn't want to show how much I was hurting, even though it's been a long time since it happened.
And you've completely moved on.
Absolutely.
It still hurts in a way.
Yeah,
right?
for sure. You never forget.
A part of that person was integrated into your life.
Yeah. Forever. Right. You're going to have memories of that person forever.
Yeah, they're part of your life.
Even though I never talk to them anymore, right?
Yeah. The reason why you did get together was because you cared about each other.
Yeah.
Right? And, it's unfortunate that things didn't work out, or fortunate, right?
Yeah.
Because some of the relationships may be toxic, and good thing you're out of it.
Well, I never would have met you.
Yeah.
Yes.
You would. Welcome to the Magnetic Mismatch Show. This is Linda.
And this is Will, and I think I'm in trouble.
Why?
Because I made a promise.
I'm a little out of breath because I was jumping up and down right now.
I made a promise to her that if we just get through this, record what we need to record today, we're going to go and get a sugary drink for her, which I really don't think she needs, but she started jumping. And it's like, hurry up, get back. Let's record this thing already.
Motivated now.
Yeah, super motivated. All of a sudden, she snapped awake,
Well, I was awake this morning when I almost burned down the house.
Ay. Every week we talk about burning something.
Okay, you do it more often than I do.
It's 2-1 right now. I don't like those numbers, but... and the funniest thing is that she tried the audacity, right? She tried blaming it on me somehow.
It's your fault. Okay, so let me tell you what happened.
Oh no.
I turned on the stove and Will left a piece of parchment paper near the stove and I didn't see it. And
yes, there you go.
And it caught
Focus
on
that
fire.
part. You didn't see it,
but why
and
didn't you
lit
throw
the fire.
It away? It was a used piece of parchment paper.
I forgot yesterday.
Then it's a you fault.
No, it's your fault for not looking before you start turning on the stove.
Rude.
Anyways, fires. Speaking of fires and burning things down, what's our topic today?
How to overcome a heartbreak.
Ooh, well, that's an easy one for me.
Why?
Ice cream.
I think it's a little bit more complex than that.
Imagine if that's the only thing that you needed to do to fix a heartbreak.
I mean, it's very helpful.
It is it's a very powerful weapon in our arsenal.
I think food is very helpful in a lot of situations.
Seriously, it's like one of those coping mechanisms that we have that you get instant gratification on,
Yeah. But I think with a heartbreak, where do you start? You just feel like everything around you is literally burning. The house is burning. Your life is burning.
You feel like the world's coming to an end, right? Especially when you're younger and that happens,
Yeah, especially when you're younger. You don't have a lot of experience.
Right.
And you don't have the same coping mechanisms, the same confidence, the same tools in your belt.
Yeah.
That you do as you get a little older and a little bit more experience.
Right. You don't know how to... deal with your emotions, I think, right?
Yeah.
So like for me, just to kind of get the ball rolling, because I definitely had dealt with heartache before. I've had my heart broken. Why are you looking at me like that?
Nothing.
Actually, it happened in my first relationship, of course, right? And my first quote unquote real relationship was first year of college. And when I started dating this girl, we actually met at a party. Cliche, right? And we found out we actually had same classes together too. How odd is that, right? So then we started talking, started dating, and a couple months into the relationship, she cheated on me. I don't want to get into too much details, but it sucked because especially her being my first like girlfriend, and at that point, we're like age 18, something like that, very young still.
Very young, yeah.
And broke my heart. Obviously, because I actually cared, or at least I wouldn't say I was in love with her, but when you're that age, you kind of think you're in love, or
Yeah.
you have
It's
a
like
big
puppy
crush.
love.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think she felt the same way, right? She wasn't ready to be in a relation or like a serious relationship, because she was still in party mode. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
so I think she was just experimenting, going out there, whatever. And of course, it didn't end well. And the way I dealt with it was like I joked in the beginning was food, food as a coping mechanism, started binging on food, drinking a little bit heavier than normal, when you're in that age in college, especially.
Mhm.
And then also not knowing how to deal with the emotions, I kind of shut myself off, from everybody else, kind of isolated myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty natural, right? Like you just don't know what to do. So I started feeling sorry for myself.
But being cheated on, I think that probably,
Especially hard, huh?
it's really hard. I think that probably took a toll on your
Mhm.
self-confidence and self-worth,
Yeah,
especially at such a young age, because
you're right.
because you don't know yourself and how much you're worth, when you're really young.
Damn, you're right.
Right. And I think at that moment, I'm pretty sure you're sitting there wondering what's wrong with me.
Yep. That was my first thing. It's like, oh crap, what did I do wrong? Even though she's the one that cheated on me, right? I was like, what did I do wrong? Am I not good enough? Right? Like, what was there anything I could have done, or whatever? Very needy, very like low, like self-worth, but that was also because I didn't know
Mhm.
how to deal with that, right? I just immediately thought it was my fault. And it felt like depressed, but also felt angry, of course, right? Betrayed and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and so it was very difficult for me to open myself up to talk about it with other people. And it's like if you were to go back and you were watching a scene of this happening, it would be my ass in the room, right? And it's lights out with sad like music on, like just crying and stuff like that. And I think it's hard for dudes, right? Especially like to feel through those emotions and to admit you even have those emotions, because I for sure was a little bit in denial too,
Uh-huh.
about how I felt. I was like, oh no, everything's fine out on the outside, right? To
Yeah.
everybody else. I didn't want to show how much I was hurting.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but I think what happened was after like a couple of weeks, kind of letting myself feel those emotions, being okay with it, and then starting to let people in and help, right?
Mhm.
Because people, friends would ask and how you're doing, and they want to kind of help you a little bit, give you advice, but I wasn't willing and ready yet to get that advice. So once I started letting myself open up, that's when I felt a lot better, because I could feel like I was heard, right? And I could get some advice from people that have been through a similar situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was kind of the first place I wanted to start and share. It's hard,
It's
like,
hard.
because you gotta have to bring, like, this topic is hard sometimes, because when you talk about heartbreak or like it's pain, even though it's been a long time since it
And
happened.
you've completely moved on.
Absolutely.
It still hurts in a way.
Yeah,
Right?
for sure. You never forget.
Yeah, you don't forget because, you know, a part of that person was integrated into your life.
Yeah. Forever. You're going to have
Forever.
memories of that person forever.
Yeah, they're part of your life.
Even though I never
some
talk to
point.
them anymore, right?
Yeah, at some point, the reason why you did get together was because you cared about each other.
Yeah.
Right? And, it's unfortunate that things didn't work out, or fortunate, right?
Yeah.
Because some of the relationships may be toxic, and good
Yeah.
thing you're out of it.
Well, I never would have met you.
Yeah,
Yes.
you would. Okay, now you
Brownie
owe me
points.
2 bobas for this. But yeah, it's definitely a hard topic. For me, even though I was actually the one that broke off the relationship.
Surprise, surprise.
But
so you were the heartbreaker.
No. Yes and no.
You broke it off because it wasn't working.
I broke it off because it wasn't working, but
Okay.
it doesn't mean that, I didn't go through the heartbreak,
Yeah, that's true.
right?
It was probably harder, one might argue, right?
Yeah. I mean, I broke off the relationship because it was very toxic, right? We spent probably more time arguing and trying to hurt each other than it was fun.
Oh, yeah.
And we've probably broken up like 10 times before. And it's kind of that one toxic relationship where you keep coming back and you keep forgetting, forgiving that person and vice versa, right? He'll forgive me, I'll forgive him. We keep coming back to each other.
You're bad for each other.
We're bad for each other, but then yet we were attracted to each other like glue.
Yeah.
Or
Isn't that weird?
Yeah. It was so weird. And I guess, I don't know why I kept going back to that relationship. I think it was something that was familiar.
Yeah.
Scared to experience change. Because I was young. I was in my early 20s. Actually, no, not even. Probably like, second year of college, so teens?
Yeah.
Yeah,
like 19.
not even 20s. Because I met you in my 20s. Yeah, and scared of change. That was like probably my first relationship, or one of my first. And I just didn't know better, and we kept coming back to each other until one day I just built up this courage and just ended things, right? And it makes it hard because the fact that we kept breaking up and then getting back, the other person kept pursuing me still, thinking that, it's gonna
gonna be back.
It's gonna be the same way, but I just had it, and it makes it harder because to have the other person call you and just hitting ignore, which it becomes very hard. But at that time, even though I was the one that ended the relationship, I felt like, it's like the end of the world. I felt alone, isolated. I think, and what's hard too was that a lot of my friends knew the relationship wasn't good for me. And, they encouraged me to call it off long ago, right? Because it was very toxic. And, some of the things that happened, I don't blame them. And I think it was harder for me because, finally, after a good period of time when I did break it off, it was hard for me to call them and talk to them because I felt like they were going to say, I told you so.
Yeah.
But, of course they weren't going to do that, right? But it was just all in my head. And
like your good friends, your real friends aren't going to do that.
Yeah. And I knew, and I just felt like they're gonna tell me, I told you so, it's bad for you, you didn't listen to us, and a part of me felt like I betrayed them by not listening to them. So, I spent a lot of time wallowing, thinking that it's the end of the world. And, the problem with that was I only remembered like the good parts of the relationships, right? Like all the fun times we've had. I think that was the problem too, was all the times we broke up and got back together was, you only think of the good moments.
Yeah, that highlight reel.
The highlights. And then it made me sad because I felt like, oh, it's such a great relationship. But then after a while, when as time goes by and your heart starts to heal a little and you think a little clearer, right? It's not just all emotions now,
right?
I realized, hey, all the drama is gone.
Yeah,
it feels kind of good. Like
that's odd. Yeah,
that's odd. Like I'm not like screaming on the top of my lungs. I'm not tired from all the arguments. Like this is really nice.
Yeah.
And that's when I started to realize that, it didn't work out for a reason. And it didn't work out 10 times before that for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I think that really helped me get over that. And what's even more helpful is that when I did turn to my friends after, a period of time, and letting my heart heal a little and feeling ready to talk about it, the fact that they didn't tell me "I told you so," the fact that they were just my friends, like we just had a good time, and that was not important to them,
It's a
right?
support system. Yeah.
Yeah, what was important to them was that I was safe and I was happy, and that's all that mattered. And I think that really helped me get over it, and it made me realize that I think after that relationship made me realize that I don't have to stay in a relationship that is toxic, because it's hard for me to believe that with so many people out there in the world, that is the only relationship for me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I deserve happiness. I
Yeah, there's 7
deserve,
billion people.
yeah, and I deserve to be in a relationship where you know we're not toxic for each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and unfortunately, I'm sorry you had to go through that. I mean, obviously, I know about that story and all that,
Yeah.
but we're sharing it because I think people can, maybe that are going through a similar situation can relate and um, have some ideas of how to deal with it. For you, it sounds like you leaned on your friends a little bit, but also you gave it some time, right?
I
You
did.
you let yourself feel those emotions, and also you kind of came to the conclusion yourself after giving it enough time,
Mhm.
right? And you learn from that experience, even though it wasn't the best relationship.
Yeah, and I look back and I don't regret anything, because I felt like that heartbreak made me realize what I wanted in a relationship, right? And
Right.
when I had that relationship, it made me appreciate it even more, because um, not everyone is lucky enough to have a relationship where they're uplifted
Yeah.
and happy and lighthearted,
Yeah.
you know.
So when you were, when you obviously broke up with that person at that time, did you like, what were your little tactics to try to cope with it? Did you like keep yourself busy? Do you go to the gym like crazy to get a revenge body? Because you
I wish I did that.
let me show you what you're missing, kind of thing, right? For some people. I mean, in that case, you were the one that broke it off, but we hear about that too.
Yeah, yeah. For me, I just kept busy. I think I
Yeah.
just worked more. I just picked up more shifts and
Yeah.
made myself busy, and I made plans. Every empty slot I had was
Yeah.
to go out and just enjoy myself.
For sure.
Yeah,
That's good. I mean, I think sometimes there's a balance, right? Because it's sometimes when bad things happen or we're going through adversity and pain and all that, it's easy to it's helpful sometimes to throw yourself into work or hobbies or whatever, something else. But sometimes that can also be too much and extreme too, right?
yeah,
And I think what happens in that situation is you kind of just you don't deal with your emotions, right? You just focus, you're distracting yourself from having to deal with the sadness, the depression, or whatever, depression feelings. And it's okay to have those feelings. I think you have to admit that to yourself and let yourself go through it, but
yeah,
don't dwell in it forever either.
yeah,
And I think for both of us, it sounds like what helped was like not isolating ourselves, because that can be really bad, if you're just trying to do it all by yourself.
yeah. But I felt like the little bit of time that I spent by myself was very helpful, though.
Yeah, looking
It,
back now too, right?
yeah, looking back
Knowing more
now.
now.
Yeah. I didn't know what I was doing back then. I was just wallowing,
Yeah,
and I just, and it felt good to just cry it out
absolutely.
and
Yeah.
just give yourself a little bit of time to feel sorry for yourself.
Yeah, it's okay
It
to that.
felt
So
it
that
felt good.
you need to a little bit, right? Just to get those. Yeah,
It felt good, and I know it's not healthy to do that for a long period of time,
but
but
it's very normal.
yeah, it's very normal. And it took a while to start feeling extra, like to feel myself again and feel like happy.
Yeah. Do you think that like, that specific heartbreak or other heartbreaks have did they change you afterwards, like in a bad way or anything?
Yeah. I think after that, that's the biggest heartbreak I had. I think after that heartbreak, I think it kind of caused me to build a wall around my heart. And I feel bad for all the guys I went on a date afterward with, like especially like closer to the heartbreak, because every guy was not good enough. I found something bad with him,
Yeah.
or and I felt bad because every guy was not either not good enough, or something was wrong with them, or I wouldn't even give them a chance.
Because it wasn't even that was true, right?
Yeah, it's
It
not,
was
and I feel bad because it's not true.
it's not true. You were just finding and making an excuse because
Yeah, I mean they're great people. I'm pretty sure, and I'm sure that they've probably found some lucky girl by now, right? Because a lot of them were really great guys. Um, it was a me problem, right? I wasn't ready to date yet.
yeah.
I wasn't ready to put myself out there yet.
Hmm.
And I kind of, forced myself to be out there, which is fine.
Hmm.
But yeah, but I do feel bad because I didn't have to be as harsh as I was. Right?
Yeah, I think that's critical, right? Like part of heartbreak, you go through those emotions and that pain, and if you're not ready, you're not ready, you know? Like for example, like for me, when I was going through that heartbreak, I wasn't ready because I was very self-destructive, and I think part of the issue too was when you're going through heartbreak, if you're not dealing with your emotions and you're not trying to amend it, right? You become very self-destructive. You start letting things go. Health was one of the first things that went for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't the one that was like, let me go and get a revenge body or anything like that. But it was more like my grades started slipping. My studies started suffering.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't focus on anything else because I was so like just sad, right, and hurt.
Yeah.
So that's why you really need to kind of, if you're going through that heartbreak, you kind of have to have some strategies to deal with it,
Yeah.
and reach out to people.
Yeah. And for me, I was just like an ice cube, cold, cold personality. I wasn't the warmest person to be around. And at some point, I'm kind of ashamed of my behavior.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's not me. Like, I'm not a mean girl, but I think the fact that I didn't know how to express myself or how to, um,
Like process.
process that heartbreak.
Yeah.
I think it just changed me as a person until I was able to process those emotions.
I think, and for me, like one of the mistakes that I made after that heartbreak, that unfortunately carried on for a number of years before I met somebody like you, right? Because I still dated, but then like same thing, right? I wasn't ready for a real relationship, so it was like casual dating, and I would find flaws in people purposely. I would try to sabotage, basically. I would purposely sabotage to keep it from working, because I just mentally wasn't there yet. And that's the thing, I was also like feeling just sorry for myself, feeling down on myself and not really working on myself either.
Yeah.
Again, like now in hindsight, right? Like we're wiser and smarter now.
Yeah.
If we could go back in time and talk to ourselves and give ourselves like advice, that would be one of the things I would definitely do is like, dude, just focus on yourself, focus on getting yourself better and all this stuff, and there's plenty of opportunities out there kind of thing.
Yeah. I don't think the heartbreak became better for me until I learned that it was nice to have that person in my life, or maybe not that person, but it was nice to have someone in my life, right?
A partner.
But I didn't need to have a partner.
You were okay being alone and happy being alone.
Yeah, and I was self-sufficient alone, right? I learned how to balance achieving my goals with, having fun with friends and family,
Hmm.
with my current support system, with what
Yeah.
I already have.
Yeah.
As soon as I realize that and see that, I think that's when I was able to find happiness again.
Yeah. And open yourself up again for
Yeah,
love.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it made me realize, especially when I see my friends with, a great guy or girl, it made me realize that, yeah, you can have happiness.
Yeah. Sometimes when you have a heartbreak, right, you
Yeah.
just generalize and just say, well,
Everyone is
all
bad.
guys are bad,
All
all
guys are
girls are
bad.
bad,
It's
or
not
I'm never
true.
getting into a relationship again. Love sucks, or like it's very natural to feel that way.
Yeah. And I felt like the more I worked on myself and the happier I was with myself and the more things I accomplished, I felt like the types of guys I was attracting was different.
Higher quality.
I mean, there's exceptions to the rules, but anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, having gone through heartbreaks, and maybe you can relate, and um, it's at the end of the day, even if you've had several heartbreaks and whatnot, I think it's still worth it in the end. It's still
Absolutely.
worth the risk of getting your heart broken.
Absolutely.
As painful as it is, I think to me, the other side is thousands, million times more worth that pain.
But you know what? I truly believe that everything you go through, it's a lesson to be learned, right?
Sure.
I felt like after the breakup, I'm proud of myself for having the courage to walk away from a toxic relationship, even though it would have been probably easier at that moment to just stay.
It taught you self-worth. Yeah.
Right? It taught me self-worth. Like when the situation was not right, I stood up for myself and said no. And it's great because I learned that I have a good support system.
Mhm.
I could get through anything right
Yeah.
after that heartbreak. I realized that I'm so lucky to have so many people to care about me, that no matter what I'm going through, I can always rely on my family and friends to get me through those hardships.
That's
And
awesome.
I probably wouldn't have realized that because if I didn't go through this heartbreak.
Yeah.
And then, what I learned through the heartbreak is that I'm strong, that I can do things by myself. I don't need somebody else. I can do it all myself. It's nice. It's lovely to have someone there for you, but
You're capable.
I'm capable. And that was what I learned from that heartbreak.
And I think you prove that to yourself, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So there's lessons to be learned.
Absolutely.
Even though as hard as it feels at that moment, it feels like everything around you is crumbling. But when you're able to uplift yourself and get yourself into a better place after the heartbreak, and looking at it hindsight, it was all worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think because for every heartbreak, like you said, there's a lesson that you learn about you, right? As a person, what do you want? And also more importantly too, what do you don't want? What do you not want in a relationship? And then it helps you clarify that going forward until you find the right person, and once you have that and you click with the right person, all the heartbreaks are worth it.
Yeah.
But I know it's hard at the moment.
It's hard at the moment.
At that time, it's very difficult
Yeah.
to see that and to understand that because it's painful, So cool. Well, I hope that helps you guys. Tell us about your heartbreak. I don't know. Should we ask that?
Give some advice to someone going through it.
Yeah, what helped you,
What
right? Maybe
helped you?
that can help other people
Yeah, it's
that's
not
going through a
easy.
similar.
Everyone copes with it differently.
Yeah.
And, you might help somebody out there.
Yeah, and again, it's okay if you're going through it and you feel down on yourself and hurt and the natural emotions. Let yourself feel those emotions, but don't dwell on it, right?
Yeah.
Give it some time and things will heal up. So, with that said, make sure to like and share our content. We are on Apple Podcasts and all the major podcast platforms like Spotify, um, Stitcher, Google Podcasts. So, do subscribe and give us a 5-star rating and review.
Connect with us on Instagram at Magnetic Mismatch. And we release a new episode every Thursday.
Yep. And we do also have a YouTube channel, same thing at Magnetic Mismatch. So be sure to tune in, guys. All right.
Bye.
Bye. See you next time.